ride back to a factory look, or put your favorite sports team front and center. Captain T's Upholstery is who to call. 352-369-1810. That's 352-369-1810. Or stop by their location, 5030 South Pine Avenue in Ocala, just past the drive-in. And of course, don't forget to visit them on the web, CaptainTUpholstery.com.
The very best in quality is Captain T's Upholstery.
You have that drip coming down from the corner of the room, but where did it start from?
Bone Dry Roofing can and will fix it right the first time using quality materials, and will deal honestly and fairly with you, period. You can find Bone Dry Roofing on their website, bonedryroofingllc.com, and Facebook at Bone Dry Roofing LLC. Do it right before your roof needs a tarp to keep the elements out. Bone Dry Roofing stands behind their work to help make your home safe and secure, plus they have financing available. Remember, if you're not bone dry, then you're all wet.
When you go into Automax, Marion County's #1 pre-owned dealer for over 15 years, you won't take the new car depreciation because Automax saves you thousands on late model vehicles. Browse the inventory online at automaxocala.com. Then come down to see the great vehicles and upfront pricing in person. Compare up to 60 models inside the climate control showroom. So take your time. No high pressure, no gimmicks, no games. On the corner of 17th and Easy Street. Automax. Quality cars, outlet prices.
Leprechaun Soft Wash is the roof washing method that is safe and effective on shingles, tile, metal and shake roofs, vinyl, wood, aluminum, hardy board and stucco siding, driveways, pavers, and the list goes on. Leprechaun Soft Wash is fully insured and uses biodegradable cleaning products. Plus, Leprechaun Soft Wash offers a spot-free warranty on roof cleanings. Call 751-2325.
No more blimey roof stains with Leprechaun Soft Wash. 751-2325.
All right, 12 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Nice looking day. Do you remember when you were a kid? We're old enough to remember this. So black and white TVs, and you had the wonderful world of Disney. Do you remember that? And then it was the wonderful world of color. Remember?
Yeah.
when color TVs came into being. The Disney company was the company that kind of set the standard for some of those live action shots. I was looking at a video the other day of an eagle eyeballing a fish in the water, and somehow the photographer knew to put a video camera underwater. I don't know how they got this shot. I don't think it was faked, but it shows the eagle coming down, and I might have the wrong bird. It might not be an eagle, but some kind of a bird. And it comes down, and then you see the shot from underwater where the bird breaks through the surface of the water, takes its talons and puts it into the fish, and then leaves the water with the fish in its claws. It's like, holy cow, how do you get such a shot? Dr. John G. West probably has been involved in some of those shots. He's a documentary filmmaker. He's the vice president of the Discovery Institute. He's the associate director of the Discovery Institute's Center for Science and Culture. And he's talking about a book called Walt Disney and Live Action, the Disney Studios live action features of the 1950s and 1960s. Dr. West, what an honor to have you on the show. Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Where are you? Where are you calling from?
I am calling from downtown Seattle.
Oh, my gosh. My brother just moved up to that area. So what's the temperature like today? Is it cold? We're going to rub it in a little bit.
Yeah, last night it was in the 20s. Now it's probably in the upper 30s. So we're about to have a warm streak. It's going to be in the 40s and 50s.
Oh, that's not too bad.
With lots of rain.
That's not too bad. So am I right? Did Disney set the standard, or did I just go to Disney because I was a kid in those days?
Well, sort of both. He actually was one of the first studios that recognized the virtues of television as its own medium. A lot of other studios were doing their best to try to profit off of films that they'd already made, and Disney put a lot into production of new stuff. So Davy Crockett, Zorro, Swamp Fox, I mean, there were all sorts of TV series about American heroes, both fictional and nonfiction, that Disney put in the 1950s. And he created on some of them, like I said, Zorro and Davy Crockett became household names, and every kid grew up on them.
So was that considered live action?
Yes, it was. So he got involved in live action in the late 1940s, early 1950s. First, actually, because of World War II. A lot of his profits from his animated films were stuck in Europe, particularly stuck in Britain, and because of after the war, price controls and things, they couldn't actually spend the money anywhere else, so he decided to make a film called Treasure Island, based on the Robert Louis Stevenson classic, which is still probably the definitive film version of Treasure Island. And then he went off from there, a whole series of drama films, adventure films filmed in Great Britain, and then films, in the United States, like Parent Trap, Pollyanna, Mary Poppins, which is both live action and animated together.
I see. Okay. Yeah, and so I guess I didn't quite understand what live action meant. So live action simply means there are actors acting. It doesn't necessarily mean just putting a camera up and getting a lion eating a deer or something.
No, that's true. Although you're right, then in the 1950s they got involved in his true life adventure films, which were nature documentaries where they had some of those amazing shots that you talked about. And actually, here in the Pacific Northwest, there was a couple, Al and I think Sue, the Mulatts, who were two of the people who filmed those, and they would be going out in the wild for months to get some of those shots. So some were staged, but many of them were just patient waiting. So.
Yeah, we had in this area of Florida, we had some films that were made in the rivers here because the water is so clear. Sea Hunt was one of the TV shows, and Tarzan was one of the movies, and Creatures of the Black Lagoon. A couple of
James
different.
Bond.
Yeah,
Moonraker was.
So they used underwater shots here. Is that part of what Disney did? Did he even if a story took place, let's say in who knows where, in Washington or someplace, would he go to another location for the underwater shots?
Well, sometimes. Actually, a lot of the underwater shots, say, on his big film, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which the Jules Verne extravaganza, were shot in his studio tank. Although he did go down to, I think, the Caribbean and elsewhere for that. So he did do a lot of on-location filming for things like Swiss Family Robinson went down to the Caribbean, and so he did both.
In doing the documentary, did you learn things about Disney's studios that were surprising to you, even you as a filmmaker?
Well, yeah, primarily, this is a book that I've written, Walt Disney Live Action, and I was able to go to the Disney studio and go back through their archives and then interview basically 24 people who worked with Disney, and it was a lot of interesting stories about how he made films and how active he was in each script. Even though he was the executive producer and didn't write the things and didn't direct them, he was involved in story conferences where he would act out scenes, where he would invent entirely new scenes. So of all the producers in Hollywood, he was really, really active. But I think, what's really important here is that Disney helped create a whole generation of Americans, instilling his love of America. He was a critic of sort of big government. He defended the family, and so he was dealing with issues like divorce and family breakup in the 1960s in some of his films. So a lot of people, they think of Disney films, oh, those are warm, sort of sappy. Actually, Disney's films, while Disney was alive, talked about a lot of things that were happening in society with a pretty sort of conservative point of view that was out of step with most of the rest of Hollywood.
And those social messages were very subliminal too. Disney really had the way to do things, so you really the viewer just didn't realize that they were being given that they were being mentored.
That's true. One of the best examples of that is Mary Poppins, which is this wonderful fantasy. But if you actually think about it, and I talked to some of the people behind it, like Richard and Robert Sherman, and this was intentional, it really is the story of the modern two-career parent family. You have basically the mom who's so involved in votes for women that she can't spend time with the kids. The dad is so involved in his corporate climbing that he can't even fly a kite with his kids. And so what do? They basically have their kid off to the British version of daycare, which is the nanny. But the whole story is actually how Mary Poppins basically forces the parents to recognize that they both have a responsibility to their kids. And so at the end, of course, the dad flies the kite with his kids. most people don't notice that the tail to the kite is actually provided by the mom, and it's one of her banners from her women's rights protest, which sort of indicates that, that she's going to spend more time with her kids too. And so, that really critique of the modern two-career household where the kids get short shrift was really one of the messages of this fun, musical based back in the Edwardian era, but it really dealt with the 1960s family in America.
Okay, so when we talk about, who was the lady who wrote Mary Poppins? Travers?
Mary Travers.
Yes, P.L. Travers.
P.L. Travers. So, but those story elements are from her original book, or did he add them into the story?
Well, the thing about the two-career family, that was added into the story by Disney and by his songwriters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. What was that movie that came out about them? I love this movie.
Saving Mr. Banks. Wonderful movie.
Yeah.
Partly true, partly not. And in my book, I have about 20, 30 pages that goes into the real story of the making of Mary Poppins.
Oh,
a lot
really?
of which isn't in Saving Mr. Banks. I mean, it's about one particular part of it, which was their dealings with P.L. Travers, who was quite challenging to deal with.
I don't know if this is true enough in the movie, but the movie made it seem like Disney's whole reason for wanting to do Mary Poppins was because he wanted to fulfill a promise to his daughter. Is that true?
Well, it is true that he learned about it through his daughters. His daughters, both of his daughters loved it, and so that was how he came to want to do it. And he did spend a couple decades trying to convince P.L. Travers to allow him to do it. I will say that the nice little reconciliation at the end where he sort of seems to have convinced her she was all happy, that didn't really happen. She did give permission to do it, but then after it was filmed and she saw it, she basically said, so where do we start cutting and where do we start editing? But she didn't have editing rights. She only had script approval rights, and so she was never quite happy with the film, unfortunately.
That is interesting. The book is called Walt Disney and Live Action, and before we run out of time, how do we get the book?
Go to Amazon, go to BarnesandNoble.com, or if they want more information, WaltDisneyAndLiveAction.com. WaltDisneyAndLiveAction.com.
And it seems like the likes of Spielberg and George Lucas, he really had a good influence on them, and it's very ironic that he now owns their property.
No, that's true. Steven Spielberg actually said in an interview several years ago that whenever he made a film, he asked, would Walt Disney like this? And I think his stunning use of visuals that Spielberg has used in many of his films really partly comes from Disney's. Disney as an animator did go over into live action. His sense of visuals, whether it be Mary Poppins, Flying Nannies, or 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, or things like Absent-Minded Professor, where you have a basketball game played in the air.
I just went to your website. Gosh, this looks good. I'm just going to read the website. All right, so I can get the book on the website. This looks like a lot of fun. I don't know why we're so enthralled by Walt Disney, but we are. So once again, you've hit another home run. Dr. John G. West, thank you for being on the air with us today. That was fun.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville.